What is up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. So good to see you. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, can we get a little round of applause for our friend Justin Hicken, who is here for the first time in 2026? It's been way too long. Justin, we've missed you. It's so good to see you. Justin, why don't you tell the folks what's your Auld Lang Syne message of peace and hope and inspiration for 2026? I'm putting you on the spot, brother. What are you looking forward to? What kind of advice you got for everyone?
There's a deep Tom Petty track off of the 2010 record called Mojo, and the song is called Something Good Coming. So just I invite everybody to listen to that when they get a chance. It's a good one. Most people don't know about it, so let's let that be the theme.
I love that because we could have went with "It's time to move on. It's time to keep rolling," but there's
That's
good
a good
things.
one too. Yeah.
Oh man, don't get me started on that petty train, man. I love it. I knew we were brothers. I love it, and it's so good to see all of you, not just my brother Justin here, but we got Shelley, we got Matthew, we got Jared, we got the one and only Phil Spear, my good friend. You might know her from the Digital Edge. We have Ellie Ronning here, Mr. Peter Glenn. How you doing? We have Hollywood's own Ben Lee in the building. David, long time no see. Good to see you, David. Jamie, what's up? Patrick, my favorite Canadian. Don't tell Renuka. I don't think Renuka's in here right now. What's going on, Patrick? How are you? We got C. Brown in the building. C. Brown, good to see you. Delana, welcome to the Fraudcast family. Riley, it's been a minute. Great to see you. Matt, it could be any Matt. I know a bunch. Maybe it's a new Matt. Great to see you. Tracy, what's up? Bradley, what's up? Everyone's favorite. Emma, what's going on? Becca, Jessica, Caroline from all the way across the pond. Good evening to you out there. Taylor D up in the limousine. If you get that one, you know what I'm talking about. Notorious B.I.G. And Julie. How's it going, Julie? Y'all, there's so much to talk about. And it's so good to see you. You're probably wondering where I'm at. I'd like to thank our new sponsors, this airport, which will remain nameless because it's my local airport. This recycle bin right here. We're putting all our fears in the bin, y'all. Okay, we're not worrying about nothing in 2026. Okay, you like that English? That's 6 years of college for you right there. So thank you to this airport and this bar that has never been open. I've never seen it open. But we've also got another sponsor here. I'd like to thank Gus's world famous fried chicken for sponsoring the Fraudcast today. If you haven't eaten at Gus's, you haven't eaten fried chicken. Remember that next time you're shopping around for wangs and things. And shout out my good friend Mark, if he's listening, for recommending me, getting me on to that Gus's. Y'all, we were talking returns last week. We're going to talk a little bit about returns today too. But the big news I've got for today, and I had to even write it down because I had what they call a brain wave, my friends, and that's the news in and of itself. When I have a brain wave, good things or awful things could happen. I think this is a good one. I'm kind of getting tired. Maybe you are too. I don't know if tired's the right word. I don't get tired. Okay. But I'm maybe verklempt is the right word. I might be getting a little verklempt with this conversation around like AI, right? Everyone's always saying, how's AI going to help me? Right? I don't know what voice that was. How's AI going to help me? Okay. That's what everyone's always asking, right? And what's it going to be? Like, da, 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 da. I'm not going to be one of these like poo-poo naysayers of like, well, actually, it's not even AI. It's a large language model. But y'all know that already. You're in the business, right? I'm here to break some news to you. This stuff's been around for like 20 years, right? And frankly, if we're not using large language models to help us in our job right now, we're done. We're verklempt. You know, I don't even think that's the right way to use verklempt, but we're toast. Okay. I don't care how big the shop is that you're running. You could get 20 orders a day. You can get 20,000 orders a day, but there's like better ways for you to be spending your time. You ought to be doing something else than just going like order by order, approving, declining, using your gut. Because you know what? I was out on the road all week and I met some fellow fraud fighters who will remain nameless. I can't sleep in hotels, y'all. I don't know about you. I'm on like 2 hours sleep. But I've got the energy of the family right here, the Fraudcast vibe going on, right? I met a bunch of fraud fighters and we're all chatting. And when I'm talking to these people, like they know the business inside and out, right? They know every API call. They know all the customers. They know every way that the business can be like manipulated and played with. They know these things. And I know you guys. And I know you know these things too. And I'm thinking to myself, this is like, let's talk Justin, right? This is like a 5-tool player in the big leagues. And all we've got you doing is DHing, right? You're just getting up to bat like 4 times a game when you've got the best arm on the field. You can run a 4.1 40. You know, you've got a great glove. You're all so talented that you should not just be relegated to going order by order, approve, decline, and then having to like speak to that. Like you ought to be doing something else. So I want to lay out a little scenario for you. Tell me if I want to hear. I'm going to take a sip of my beautiful iced coffee after I pose this question/scenario to you. I want to hear from you on this one because I was digging deep in my own memory banks. This is when the brainwave happened, right? You wake up, you crack the coffee, you open the laptop, right? There's the message from somebody saying something's up. Maybe your dashboard alerted you to something being up. Whatever, there's like the F word fraud floating around. Okay. So what's the first thing you do? You export this like spreadsheet of hundreds of thousands of rows. Okay. You're compiling all sorts of like data fields into those rows. You're doing a little VLOOKUP action. You feel all fancy in front of your friends and family. I can VLOOKUP. I'm a VLOOKUP head. All right. You're doing that kind of stuff. You're rolling, you're clicking around, but like by time you're getting around to everything or trying to get around to everything, the landscape is like shifting in front of you. You know, the answers are changing while you're doing this. It's taking hours. You want to get answers to leadership. You want to get answers to the person who DM'd you, but you're like, I don't want to give the incorrect answer. It's actually not the 100% answer, right? I've only got about 85% of it. And I don't want to say something that ain't right. I'm trying to scope this out. I'm trying to figure out how big the bleed is. And that just keeps changing minute by minute. My good friend and fellow podcaster, Dave Ramsey, you might know him. He always talks about analysis paralysis. You don't want to fall into that analysis paralysis, right? And we all fall into it because of that, right? Because we're trying to do algebra like the traditional way. We're starting X plus 2Y, baby. I didn't do any of the math in college, guys. Just the reading, right? But we're trying to get to that answer. And then there's just variable upon variable upon variable upon variable. And we're getting buried by it. And then you kind of like rage quit. Well, I don't know, silent quit. I don't know what it is. But you're like, I don't have a full answer for you. I don't know what to do. Have you been in that situation before? Because I know I have. But like I said, I'm going to take a sip of this beautiful iced coffee. And like, what is that like for you? You know, just curious, because these are the conversations I've been having all week. Problem happens. You've got to dig. You've got to export. By the time you get around to it, you're not even sure like how you got there, what day it is, and whether or not you're barking up the right tree, the wrong tree. You realize there's missing trees, etc. I'm going to mute and take a sip of this coffee. I'd love to hear what you think about this, especially for our new friends who I'd love to introduce if you come off mute to come on camera, like Delana, like C. Brown in the building, like Tracy, I know you've been here before. It's good to see your name, but you know what? Introduce yourself again. Julie, I'd love to hear from all of you, anyone, about what that kind of investigative first motion is like for you.
Hi, everyone. I don't even have any questions, but I have been incognito for every time I've come, so I just thought I'd say hi.
Tracy, how are you?
I'm good.
Tracy, how's it going?
Good.
Want you to say a few words about yourself, whatever you don't mind putting out there on the broader internet for the whole world to hear.
I know. That's part of the reason I'm always incognito. I work at Shields, so we are a very private company. But one really cool thing about Shields is there's a lot of tenure. So I worked at Shields for 14 years now. Been in the e-commerce space for about 10 now. So yeah, just came off the really busy season and ready to dive back into everything again. So
Tracy, everyone, Tracy, we're all friends here. Tracy, I hope if you haven't already that you can join us on Zoom and or on Zoom again, 2 hours of sleep. I think we're on Zoom right now, right? On Slack. I'm going to add the Slack link in a second here.
yeah, that grab.
Yeah, boy. How do I take more of this into my body? There we go. Yes, on Slack where we're all rocking and rolling. But Tracy, great to see you. Glad for coming off. I'm just curious. Hey, Tracy, maybe it's at Shields, maybe it's in the past or wherever. Like, do you get that analysis paralysis kind of feeling where there's a big fish to fry and you're just like, where do I begin? What do I do? Or have you got this figured out?
No, I think there's we kind of joke a little bit in our area. We do the same thing every day, but never the same thing twice. And in the fraud space, I think that's always a given. So
That might be what keeps us coming back for more. Well, I'm glad that you're coming back. I'm glad to hear the enthusiasm is still there. The lust for life, as Iggy Pop would say, right? This kind of like thrill of the hunt, the fight, the chase to stop these bad guys. And what I'd really like to do is inspire you and everybody else about how to like rethink the situation, to like reframe the problem, right? It might make it a little bit easier. And we're going to do that in the context of returns. Okay, so if I share, all right, so before I jump into our little thing-a-lang, pull out the camera phones, my friends, if you haven't been there already. If you're not already in the Slack channel, we're all Slackers now indeed. Join the family, join the side Slack. We got plenty of things just rocking and rolling in there 24/7. We'd love to see you in there. Exclusive content. That sounds weird. Just like fun times. And a lot of people who are going through the same stuff as you. Get your questions answered, figure out, be the first to find out what's going on in the broader e-commerce ecosystem before it hits your front lines. So come on out, right? We talked a lot.
Sorry. I'm also going to drop the link in the chat for anybody, any of the new folks that would like to join.
Love it. And you know what, Jenna? While we have, how are you doing? How's 2026 been for you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking, Vito.
No one comes here to hear me talk. They come here to hang out with Jenna. Let's just be honest. So I'm glad you're doing great. All right. So yeah, it's going to be in the chat. Jump on in there. Last week, y'all, we had some facts. Have you ever seen me drop I feel like I'm the only one. When I drop that fax emoji, I'm not talking about the fax machine. I'm talking straight facts. We had some facts dropped on us last week around returns. And here's kind of what I took from y'all. Tell me if I'm barking up the wrong tree. We're all omni-channel, pretty much, one way or another. There's so many moving parts. Bopus, Bopus, what's that? Bop it, push it, twist it. You remember that thing, right? Bopus, Bopus, in-store returns that are initiated from the internet, this, that, and the other thing. There's so many moving parts. And, we all need a little help. We all need a little love and kind of like trying to slay this, multi-tendril dragon that we've got going on. And these are the facts, Jack, that came out. There we go. Okay. So enforcing policies, right? Y'all have been there. I know my friend Justin's been there. I know we've all been there where it's like you've got policies. They're living in your CRM, they're living in Slack, they're living in a Google Doc somewhere. You go and meet with like your customer support teams in person. You bring the donuts, you buy them pizza, you try and drill it in their minds, but there's always like this one-off thing that happens. That one-off is like 2, 3, 4, 5 times off. And you can never really just kind of like, lasso this problem or get everyone in lockstep. It's almost like we need something that's a little more, rock solid than just an SOP that's in a text field somewhere. I've kind of got that from our talk last time. There we go. Customer lifetime value is the number one metric, I think, for all of this, even more than the bleed, even more like than the spend that the company's doing in, shipping things out, your reverse logistic costs and all that kind of thing, because you're going to determine what you're going to do, how you're going to appease, to use the language of the returns world. You're going to figure out how to do what you need to do based on like how good of a customer someone is, how much money they're spending with you. Is the juice worth the squeeze? The poet once asked. And the only way to figure out that equation is like, well, how much have they spent with us? What are they typically buying at versus like how much have they, subtracted from our overall operations? These are things that are like top of mind for us in this returns game. And then like the data-driven bit. Remember earlier I was talking about like how AI is going to help our jobs or like, Can it just turn my dog into a human in like a picture that I could send to my wife, which I love to do. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like there's more applications of AI than just that. If we're going to be so data driven, we need to use AI one way or another. LLMs, they've been around for like 20 some odd years, and there's plenty of solutions for that, right? So I wanted to show y'all a little bit of like how I like to play ball, because I've been handling returns now for a few years and really helping people figure out like up and down, left and right, like how to get themselves out of sticky situations, how to do new and complex and novel things with this like mountain of data, with these like many moving parts, with the omni-channel experience. And remember like the algebra thing I was talking about, x plus 2y divided by like 3z over w, right? What if you started with the answers first? Maybe that's part of algebra. Maybe that's like the day I was sick, where you kind of flip the equation, right? What if I could start from the headline? What if I could start from the like the big takeaway and then just like drill in from there? This large language model solution I'm showing you does that, okay? Where I can see my returns for a certain period of time, and I can see that it's broken down into like the buckets that we, these are the linguistic buckets that we use to talk about these things: bracketing, late arrivals, order errors, loyalty abuse. These are, wrong item, the SNAD stuff. Like when leadership comes to me and says like, what's going on with, this returns lately, it's as simple as I'm on a Mac, Command Shift 4, do a little quick screenshot, send it in the Slack channel, and be like, here's the big answer you're looking for, right? And I'll get you some examples in a few minutes, rather than hold. I'm going to export like 500,000 lines of stuff from the database, and then I'm going to do my VLOOKUP pivot table fun stuff and go from there. Also, these AI large language model solutions are pretty good at narrativizing, and you don't want to stay away from those M dashes and emojis as much as possible, right? We all know that whole deal, but narrativizing the problem. So in this case, $1.4 million of revenue impacted because abusive returns have risen 19% over the last 3 months, with the majority coming from 19 high GMV buyers. Well, I love low-hanging fruit. Okay. And in our game, if you could take care of the low hanging fruit, especially the stuff that's like high dollar low hanging fruit, then you'd take in a big slice of the pie out of the equation. Okay. And then you could just keep whittling down from there, from there, from there. This is like starting from the end and then working your way backwards, rather than starting from a position of not knowing anything and going from there. So let's say I want to find out a little bit about this like damaged item not notified, deal. What's going on there? 5.7% of my returns have been this like damaged item not notified. I click in, boom. More of these top line metrics that are simple as like a Command Shift 4 screenshot, send this over to leadership again. Hey, by the way, there's been 121,000 refund requests in the last 6 months in this category. We got damaged items. Is it, y'all know, right? Y'all are savvy. Is it from the logistics company who's like shipping these things out? Is it from our suppliers? Is it because like, this new material that we're using just like can't handle the rigors of the road? These are the questions that kind of get unpacked from looking into this. We've got graphs, we've got numbers, all the kind of stuff that leadership loves, right? I got this. I feel good about it. Okay. But I want a story. I want something that sticks. I want something that I can say, like, here is like exhibit A as to how this thing happens. So I click into it again. Right. And boom, a couple cool things come up, right? In terms of like what SKUs are being impacted. Imagine if you had this kind of thing going on, right? What SKUs are being impacted here? Oh my gosh. Right? The Orium cropped mauve cotton tracksuit has a 62% return rate in the last 6 months. The Ravica oversized mustard rayon leggings, 87.4%. There's a lot of relish there, right? And where is it going? Look at the West Coast is just like on fire. Okay, so there might be a logistics issue. There might be a sourcing issue with our rayon. Maybe the rayon is turned out to be a schmedium and not a medium, something like that. I find it very helpful to send to leadership into like those broader Slack channels these questions. Hey, I don't know, maybe did we just like update who's like sourcing this stuff from us? Did our rayon provider like change? Is there anything like that going on? Well, is there anything different in our West Coast fulfillment methods versus the East Coast, where like things look kind of fine in Ohio? What's going on there? First rule in politics, my friends, always make others feel like it's their idea and not yours, right? So we're feeding them with kind of deals where they can say, oh, actually, I'm going to look into this, that, or the other thing. We still need that one smoking gun. Still need like people, names, like this order. Take a look at this one, this example. We still need that. So we just simply click in a little bit further. Take a deep dive into this segment. Maybe you get a little fancy deal where you're looking at these bubble charts and you've got return rate versus return value. And I mean, heck, you got these outliers. These guys are just hanging out here who've had, who are returning like tens of thousands of dollars worth of material, worth of SKUs 90, 100% of the time. Like, what's up with that? Low hanging fruit, my friends. Play ball where like no one else is playing ball. And then you can whittle down from there, especially when those dollar signs are big, when there's a lot of commas, right? It's pretty compelling, right? So we click down one step further and bada bing, bada boom, as the poet once said. Now I've got some examples, and look at this, man. Like, this is where the lifetime value on these folks. And again, names have been changed to protect the innocent. Don't at me. Don't dox me. We're not doxing anyone out here. Lori Marie Wise at Outlook.com. My gosh, 8 orders, 93% return rate. She repurchases 62% of the time, but she's already filed 2 chargebacks. She's purchased $7,200 worth of GMV, but has returned nearly $6,500. Okay. The cost to us is in the negative, to the tune of like negative 3.3K. What are we doing here and why? And what if we could do something about this? This is enough to make your head spin, right? And this example is that smoking gun where you can say, okay, here's the questions I have. Here's the overall impact to the business. If we looked at this one, see how we're doing like reverse telescopic kind of specificity, going all the way down to like this one case. We're all kind of like lawyers here now. Your Honor, I present to the whatever. I'm not a lawyer. Your Honor, Exhibit A. Okay, Tracy or Lori Marie Wise. Okay, $3,000 bleeding us. How do I click on this thing? My click ain't working. There we go. Oh my gosh, right? Oh, look at that. 3,000. Oh, well, what do we do about it, right? What if from our solution, we could just simply add this person to a workflow, right? And what if we had bespoke workflows for this individual? Y'all feel the impact of like the need for instant refunds. Our friend Jeffy Bezos over there has like done this to us at Amazon, right? Oh, you're gonna get your money back immediately, right? Or maybe when it comes down to the Lori Marie Wises of the world, we're like, you're probably gonna file a chargeback on us. We want to avoid that. So rather than giving you that instant refund, what if we held this for a minute, took a look at it when it came back, maybe took 5 seconds to catch our breath and looked at our legalese on the website to see if we got all of our ducks in a row. Like, what if we can do something there to avoid another chargeback from you or protect ourselves in the future, right? And if I could click on here, jeepers creepers, hold the refund. Hold the refund. Let's do that. Let's add this individual to that hold the refund list, right? We've worked backwards, my friends. What do you think about this? Because is this just like some sort of like e-commerce voodoo? Have you thought about doing something like this? Have you said, what if I could start from the answers and move back around? I know we've got some very tech savvy, product savvy folks in this room. I'm looking at one individual in particular, my good friend from New Jersey, my brother in the Church of Emo, Jared. I know we think about these things from a product solution. Have we thought about this from an operations solution rather than getting that analysis paralysis kind of situation where it's like, give me like all week to look into this. By the time I come up with an answer, those sands will have shifted. The answer will have changed and I'm going to go back to square one. What do you think about all this as I take another sip of this and I go on mute?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that's definitely challenging. I saw something very similar with like sports cards, where people would spend a lot of money on sports cards. They didn't get the cards they wanted, the rare one of ones. They would, file chargebacks or returns, but the data would show that, oh, look, they actually do spend money and they have orders and then don't charge back. My argument is, yeah, that's most likely when they get like a valuable card and they don't want to return it, right? But even when they do return it, they could get a valuable card and then return the rest. And then that's something we were seeing too. And then they would end up on eBay or other platforms. And that's something that's just very hard to communicate with leadership and management. Yes, maybe they spent $1 million this year, but we've refunded, like 900,000. What do you want to do?
I feel the wheels spinning. And tell me if I'm off base here, but like, look what you just came up with in 25 seconds right there. You're already putting together this kind of like what I would call like a feature type scenario where we know what's going on. We know what they're doing. We have suspicions as to how they're operating, right? They're returning the big fish in the pond, right? So if I came to leadership and I said, hey, look, here's the bleed in like concrete numbers. Here's the lifetime value situation. And then I had like 3-4 options that we can implement today. And I said, what if I came up with like a policy where if you're returning 95% of your cart, then you go into this flow where like we just say like, or we say, we got to talk to you, or we do something else like that's way more novel and kind of effective than anything. I know the solutions are like there in your head because you've seen this a million times, but I can only get to that point of persuasion in terms of like executive persuasion if I could hit them with those concrete numbers to begin with. And often those concrete numbers are really hard to get at, especially when it comes to lifetime value, which is wild to me, right? We talk about like providers, and yes, I've got my signified hat on. I'm going to tip my signified hat up a little bit though, and I'm just going like human to human here for a second, right? Providers give us all this great data from the networks and from like enrichment, but we in our seats, in our company seats, we hold the CLTV, like we know the value that this person has, but oftentimes it's hard to get that from like point A to B. Oftentimes hard to like pull that from the database. And then we have like different definitions about, the period that we're looking at, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we had all that information in one spot. If we had all those concrete numbers in one spot, Jared, I feel like the situations you're cooking up, the potential like appeasement methods or the potential like mitigation methods, they would just sound so much more compelling because you've given the value add to the executive to begin with. And then it's like, oh, we could do A, B, and C. And I go back to that first rule of politics. I'm going to say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Executive, here's like 3 scenarios. Why don't you pick one and run with it? And you know what they do? They take like a combination of like 1 and 3. They spin it up into their own number 4. And, Mr. and Mrs. Executive like really came up with a great idea there. And it's a joy to watch them do that. So I'm just blessed to witness these things. But thank you, Jared. Mr. Matthew Blanchard, my good friend. I see you come off mute. I think you got something to share with us. I'd love to hear it.
And not really anything to share to help the group. I think more just to kind of chew on it because we're in the process of doing the returns insight integration with Signified. I think that might be what you were using to show us there, Vito. But the challenge that I have is where do you draw the line, right? Because if you have a company that has an AOV of say $100 a transaction online, right? Like where do you begin to say, hey, this person is a bad actor? Like that's the challenge that we have right now. And we've got to answer it this year because we're doing the integration process. I don't know if there's an industry standard that says, hey, if you return X amount of what you purchased throughout the year, you're labeled a bad actor, so to speak. I don't know what that looks like. So it's really my question more than anything, Vito, is just, what is a decent number? What is something that's consistent industry wide from that?
Consider the bat signal up. And we've got everyone here. There might not be an answer in terms of like an exact dollar amount, but I can guarantee you that this group has ideas around, the philosophy behind it. I would say this real quick. I'm going to add this and I'm going to shirk away into the distance because I want to hear from you. I saw Shelley come on to camera. I know Shelley's ready to rock and roll this one, right? I know it. Yeah, get him up, right? I'll just say this real quick. I think a little Salt Bay dash of skew margin might come into play, right? What are we talking about returning? What are we talking about buying? How much is the cost to us? If they want to return this thing that is like crazy good margins for us, I'm like, go for it. Like, whatever. It's the fact that you took this thing off the shelf is a blessing to us. But if they're doing this with stuff that's very much more valuable, much more like at risk for the business, maybe much harder to get your hands on for the average consumer, we might want to do something different. So I'm going to shirk away into this. I'm going to go into this 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 bin over here, and I'd love to hear from Shelley. What's up?
Don't go into the bin. It's on wheels. You're going to fall. It's going to be a whole situation. I've got a horrible story about somebody jumping into a recycling bin that I won't share.
Come on.
Now I feel like you have to. I'm fascinated.
Oh my goodness. Okay, 2 seconds. I had a very special individual who not lived with me, thank God, who worked for me way back when. And he jumped off the back dock into the recycling bin because he looked like it was fun. There were witnesses that heard him go, whee! His judgment in landing zone was incorrect and he missed. And he broke his coccyx. Yeah. And then tried to get a workman's comp for it. But he didn't because he jumped off the back dock.
This is a PG-13 fraudcast here. And what he broke is heinous. So
exactly.
And now you're back
Anyway,
all over again, Shelley.
Listen, I cannot. The number of stories I have of working in operations is ridiculous. So moving on to fraud. The reason we're all here today. Matthew, I think what you're looking at is not necessarily the returns that you're looking for value, but the intent. And that's the thing that I always go back to all the time. I am an online shopper. I buy multiple sizes, colors, things, and I want all of it because I want to try it on in the comfort of my own home, not in a dressing room. And that's what I do. This is literally my sister. Absolutely. She is my mom has to collect her purchases on her porch when she takes a vacation. She's bringing in 4 to 5 boxes a day. It's okay. My sister makes a lot of money. She's cool with it. But she returns about 75% of the things she purchases because she's buying multiples and then returning them. But everything is being returned. So think of it like a dressing room. If I'm going back to the dressing room with 75 items and then I give them to the dressing room clerk at the end, but I only take 2, what am I doing wrong? Am I doing anything wrong? I mean, it's kind of annoying. And yeah, there's fees that you have to pay for processing, but if they're willing to accept the return fee, like we have a $9 restock fee that we add in. If they're willing to take the $9 restock fee to have their dressing room at home, please enjoy. You will always be flagged and I will always monitor you on the back end, but you're not a problem child. It's the malicious intent people. It's the ones who are buying all these things and not returning them or returning them in a damaged or unused way. Like they tucked the tag into the bra and worked out 4 times and then returned it me a sweaty, gross sports bra. Ew. So those are the ones that you're looking at and saying those percentages, those are the ones that you have to tackle. So I'm building a huge model right now to get those bad actors. It should go live next week. Please, somebody pray for me because I'm the one controlling it until I get funding for somebody else to take a look at this. So please, thoughts and prayers.
Prayer emojis in the chat for Shelley. Prayer emojis in the chat.
But that's what I've done. I've taken the bad actors that we've identified as frequent returners, whether they've returned good or bad or not. And then I've slowly started culling out the good ones. And it's based on emails, address, location, those things. And then that's going to pull it out. But then I've also isolated the people who can and cannot get an instant refund. If it's over $500, you don't get an instant refund. I don't care who you are. Everything has to be looked at. If you're a first-time orderer and you're returning, we're going between 75% of the order or a threshold of dollar amount because it's kind of an odd. If you're a first time orderer and order 2 items and you return 1, is it really something I should block? No. So we're looking at a dollar amount, most likely starting with $250, and we'll massage that. So first time your email address or account has been used and you choose to return more than $250, nope, you don't get an instant refund. It's just how it works. And so by taking that information, I'm then going to pull out the data for those executives and say, hey, now imagine if we did this for every single order. Look what I've saved you just by looking at these orders. Now let's look at it through other markets and take these bad actors. If you're not returning the goods, I don't want your business. Or maybe they are returning the goods, but it's like always missing 1 item, or every 3rd order is missing 1 item. Reduce them to store credit or gift cards instead of being refunded back to their original form of payment. We have one market that does not process returns at all. Like literally, we receive it and store it and then scrap it. It's disgusting, please. And we just give the money back. So now, if you're a bad actor, I don't have the ability to go through those orders. Instead, if you're a bad actor, you only get store credit. So it's just rolling back over to me, and I don't care at that point. So I think that's the focus, Matthew, if that helps at all, to say that's what we have to look at. And originally, it's just intent, and then go from there.
That's helpful, Shelley. Thank you. Intent is very challenging to uncover in a cyber world. It can be very challenging. The reshipping fee perspective, and Vito, I'm not trying to overtake this conversation. I'll shut up. But
please, no. I love this. Is so much better than me. Please.
The reshipping fee is very interesting, Shelley. So maybe we can talk at some other time about it. But how did you go about figuring out what was the right reshipping fee for your product? Because I mean, obviously, you're going to have a much higher AOV than what I'm going to have in a retail space with like clothing and cosmetics and stuff. So, like, how did you come about the reshipping fee?
So I think our restock fee, it was based off of analysis of by finance, and they looked at what our packages are costing, because no matter what, you're not paying per package that you're sending out. You have a flat rate that you're sending, and whether it weighs 75 pounds or 1.5 pounds, you have a flat rate that you're paying through your shipper. And so take a look at what that flat rate is, what we're being charged on the return fee from them. So bring that in, and then there's hours at the end of the product too. A warehouse person has to receive it, has to scan it in, and has to restock it. So what does that translate into in your world? And honestly, then you have to play that fun game of what's the dollar amount somebody's willing to pay. And it's really weird. If we charge $9, people are like, okay, well, that's under $10. We're good. But if I charge $10, literally people are going to revolt. I will pay $4.99 for something, but I won't pay $5.01 for something.
If anyone's trying to refinance their mortgage right now, they're offering 4.99% instead of it's under 5.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had to jump in with that. I'm trying to refinance.
No, that's perfect, Vito. But no, that's the exact right answer. What are we willing as a consumer to take on to return these? Am I willing to pay $9 to return a $45 pair of leggings? Yeah, okay, I can eat that. We're good. But am I willing to pay $9 to return a piece of cosmetic? No, I'm not. So I'm probably not going to return it at that point. Win-win. I'm part of Stitch Fix. There was one thing in my Stitch Fix box that I didn't like, but my 20% off savings, if I kept all 6 items, was $63. The one item was $49. So you know what I have in my closet? Some ugly red sweater that I don't want. Still at the tag on it. I'm going to sell that on Poshmark, but I paid for it, so it's cool. So like, that's the balance you have to play, is what are we willing to let go of versus what are we willing to not. Also, trips to the stores. If you have a return, like, what is it, Nordstrom's Rack, if I ship it back in, it's like $6.75. But if I drive 10 minutes down the road, it's free. But I also have to drive 10 minutes down the road, so it rides in my car for 3 weeks.
Thank you, Shelley. And yeah, restocking fee, not reshipping fee. Thank you.
Either one, restock, return fee, whatever it is. Yep. And I just wrote it into the policies. It's there.
Absolute gold from Shelley. Justin, I want to hear from you real quick. I just want to say what Shelley presented there too, Matthew, and for everyone else, is more. Look how Shelley worked with finance. Okay. Look how Shelley brought up the fact that what are people willing to pay? Think about your product, your engineering team, like running A/B tests on the site. Like get a bunch of people involved who, because this is once you get that big dollar problem, you can get all these people involved because they're going to put it in their back pocket for an end of year win. And when they're looking for their bonus, say, "Oh, I solved a $10 trillion return problem because I figured out how to A/B test a $9.99 versus $10 thing." Everyone will take a little bit of credit for it. You could take credit too. Great things. Justin, what's up?
Sorry, guys. I know we're at time, but yeah, just Matthew, a couple things. And I'm a little bit removed from this, obviously, but when I was in it, I was neck deep in this stuff. And so we did a lot of experimenting. Over at Cozy Earth, it's interesting because we had this wide array of products, right? We had lots of very expensive bed linens. Well, I mean, everything's expensive, but like, you would have silk comforters and sheet sets, and then it would go down to joggers and loungewear and even socks and stuff like that. So we, like Shelley, we had to get to a point where there was a restock fee. But for us, it even got to the point where we said, well, gee, like, it's tough when we get someone who has never tried our products, but all of a sudden they decided they wanted to outfit, some new home or something, and they bought bedding for 4 or 5 bedrooms, and then they try it and they decide, oh, we don't love this. And that was pretty rare, but as all of a sudden you might have $3,000 or $4,000 worth of bed linens coming back. And basically, to get to the chase here, we implemented something. At first, we had to do it in tiers because the return service that we were using could not do a percentage. But then eventually, when we switched over to a different provider, we basically set up a floor, a ceiling, and in between it was a percentage of the value of the return items. So in other words, kind of like the example Shelley gave, if someone bought a 3-pack of socks or something and it was $40, they're a percent, like I think the percentage we used was like 3%, but that really doesn't do us much good or deter us if the total is very small, right? So there was a floor. I think our floor was kind of high. I think it started low and then we eventually bumped it all the way up to $11.99. But anyways, it got to the point where, if someone's just returning a set of pajamas, that fee is a lot lower than someone who, maybe was a little careless on the front end and bought several $1,000s worth of product and now wants to return it. We'll say, hey, we'll let you do that, but there's a 3% restock fee. And there were some ways around it. Our marketing team set up like a membership program. If you paid $150 annually, you could get return fees waived and stuff like that. But it was a way to basically help keep people in check. And like Shelley mentioned, we would still, if we saw someone and it's like, hey, they have 12 orders and there's returns on all 12 of them, even though they're paying the fees, we might still reach out and say, hey, what's going on? Like, it doesn't look like this is working out, and this is probably costing you more money than you want to spend, and it's costing us money. So, but anyways, that's just a thought I wanted to add in.
I love the percentage versus a fixed amount. That could be a solution. I love seeing, we have a lot in the chat here, and I love the fact that like Peter says, we don't want to stop people from making orders. There's another like product-based A/B test. What's conversion like anytime we present certain people with the restocking fee versus not, or like whatever, how many people are like hovering over this thing? Get all these people involved. Justin's bringing the marketing team into this. They come up with a cool solution for a membership. Bring the questions. The questions start with those big numbers. Get everyone enticed to bring their own kind of creative minds into it. But look at all of this cool stuff we're talking about, and none of it has to do with, do I approve this? Do I decline this? Right? Is this fraud or is this not from an order perspective? We are moving out of the cart, my friends. And I was going to jump into that cart to like end this all, but then they took it away from me. So stay tuned. Maybe next episode, I'll be back in the airport to jump into that cart and finally end the Frogcast the way I'd like to do it. We've all got so many questions about this. There's so much to talk about this. You are all revenue optimizers. You know that already. And I really feel like the days of us sitting in queues for orders that are in cart are done. Thin, tot. Okay. I think this is the frontier for us. I think this gives you job security. I think this makes you super important. You could touch so many different parts of the organization and not just, checkout. There's so much more meat on the bone here, too. And y'all know the customer and the flow better than anyone else at the company. So you are in the prime seat, my friends, to figure out what the solutions are going to be like for this. We're all here to help you. I want to give, let's do the jazz finger snaps or whatever for all the people who contributed today. Shelley, bang. Jared, bang. Jessica, Jamie, Matthew, and Matthew, please, we are brothers, so you never need to apologize for talking. I want to hear from you more than I want to hear my own dumb voice going at it. Peter, Ben, Ellie, Tracy, thank you for sharing. Patrick, my man, great to see you. C. Brown, what up? Delana, Riley, Matt, Bradley, Emma, Taylor, Julie, Paula. Until next week, y'all are the best. You got me out of bed this morning. You made me put a smile on my face. I could not wait to come here at this undisclosed airport that I'm sitting at and just hang out with you. You are the light in my life, my friends. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. I hope to see you on Slack. It's not Zoom. It's not LinkedIn. It's Slack. I've got that in the noggin. I'll never forget that again. Come on out, ask some more questions. When this is all done, I'm going to put together some of the solutions that we came up with today, the scenarios we presented today. I'll put it in the Slack channel so you can have it right there. And Matthew, you could bring this to your people and so on and so forth. But enjoy the rest of your day. Have a blessed rest of your week. Y'all are the best. I will see you same time, same place. Maybe not same place. I don't know. Y'all take care.